Greetings, class. This is Professor LaShawn Bold, an Associate Professor in Practice at the UTA School of Social Work, and I am coming to you from my office on the second floor in Building A of the School of Social Work, and I am your guest speaker for Module 14. I thought it'd be fun if, even though we've heard my voice a lot and maybe seen even other videos of me, that it would be fun for me to share my career path with you as one of the professionals for this class. And so I'm going to be recording this, and then what will happen is after I record this, then there's an area on the discussions for you to post your questions. And then in Module 14, you can post your questions there, and I'll answer them. Actually, you'll post your questions in Module 13, and I'll provide the answers in Module 14. Confusing enough? I think so. Okay, so I just wanted to come to you and talk to you a little bit about my profession in the School of Social Work and what that has been like for me. I am, let me back up and say I'm using a program here called Screencast-O-Matic. I use it a lot for various recordings in this class, and hopefully it will be helpful to us today. Okay. I have worked in a variety of nonprofit organizations, and we in the past have called them nonprofit organizations, but for the future, they are known as human service organizations as well, and you can use those somewhat interchangeably depending on what your context is for the use of it. But I have worked in very, very many different places, and you can see all of the different areas that I've worked in. I have been a leader in a youth organization called Carson Cares, and I'll talk more about each one of these later. I've worked at Alliance for Children and AISD, which is Arlington Independent School District. I'm currently at the University of Texas in Arlington, and I also have worked at, it used to be MHMR, but it's now called Metro Care Services. I have been involved with Arlington Alliance for Youth and Safe Haven and Big Brothers Big Sisters. And I just want to mention a few of those and talk a little bit about my career path so you can see what it's like. If you will notice, there's a theme there. With the exception of Metro Care Services, which is also a children and families organization, but it is primarily known for mental health services. But if you'll notice, the theme there is about children and families. And so that is my specialty in the School of Social Work, is children and families. So here's my career path, and looking at it is a little bit overwhelming for me because it looks long, and I think it is long. So I think if you did the math, you'd be adding up about almost 30 years. Wow. Of social work in my life. So I do have quite a bit of practice experience. And one thing, if we haven't mentioned it yet, when you are in a class with non-tenure track faculty here in the School of Social Work, many of them, some will have their PhDs, some of us have MSWs, but for the most part, we've all been practicing faculty, so practicing social workers. So that means we've been in social work out in the trenches doing real live work with social workers. So some professors have been practicing, and some are more research oriented, and some do both. Some are research oriented and they have their own private practice. So it's always interesting to see what path everyone takes. So here you'll see I started out at TCU. Straight out of high school, I went to TCU in 1986. And I didn't really become a social worker till probably my junior year. I didn't declare a major until my junior year. And lots of reasons for that. But I did finally declare social work as a major because I enjoyed working with people. And interesting story there is that I went to visit with the sociology professor at TCU, and I said, I love working with people. I love this class. And he said, well, I'm the sociology professor, and we are the study of people. If you want to work with people, you're going to need to go to the social work area, which in hindsight makes sense, right? And so that's how I landed in social work, and worked on my BSW for the remainder of my time, and then graduated in 1990 with a degree in social work. Another interesting story is that when I was about to graduate and I was looking for a job, because I did not want to return to my hometown, which was San Angelo, Texas. Nothing wrong with San Angelo. It's a great place. But I just knew that I wanted to stay in the Metroplex area. So I went to my advisor, which I would advise you to always go to your advisor when you're making big decisions, because they can really help you with that. I went to my advisor's office, who was Dr. Beverly Black at the time, and I said, I need a job. And she said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I don't know. I like working with kids, this kind of thing. And while I was in her office, the phone rang. And it just so happened to be a man named Walter McNew, who was the executive director of Big Brothers Big Sisters. And he was on the phone with her, and I heard her say, well, I happen to have someone in my office right now. So come to find out that Walter McNew was looking for a social work student to come and work there. So I went and interviewed with him. It's a crazy world, isn't it? I went and interviewed with him, and I got the job. It ended up being at Big Brothers and Sisters for 5 years. And then in that process, Big Brothers Big Sisters also paid for me to go back and get my graduate degree, which I'm forever indebted to them for that, and to whomever may have provided that resource to students. I'm eternally grateful for that opportunity. They gave me the books and the tuition, and while I was doing that, I did my field placement at the Dallas Children's Advocacy Center, where I was able to experience play therapy. And it was such an exciting time for me, and got some great clinical experience there. And then I graduated from UTA in 1994, and excuse me. Excuse me for that. When I graduated, I wanted to move on to new things, and so I ended up going to my next job, which was MHMR in Dallas. Mental health, mental retardation is what it was called at the time. It's called Metro Care now. And I went to the intake assessment and referral unit there and worked in MR services for a couple of years there. It was a fantastic job, and I got a lot of experience in supervising people. I had supervised case managers at Big Brothers Big Sisters too, and this was just a continuation of that, and became much more administrative at MHMR. While I was there, I actually met someone who, not that worked there, but someone outside in the world that I was interested in having a long-term relationship with. And so I moved from Dallas to Arlington, because I decided I wanted to live in Arlington and work in Arlington. And so I got the newspaper out. That was the way that we looked for jobs back then. And I'm sure you know what a newspaper is still, but hopefully someday they will not become obsolete, but they'll still be part of your history. So there was a job in Arlington at Alliance for Children. And it just so happens that I had the experience at the Dallas Children's Advocacy Center, and they were looking for a center coordinator. So I had never done that type of administrative work at Alliance for Children. I went there, and it was a tremendous learning experience. I was there for 9 years as the center coordinator, and I did amazing things there, and I did stupid things there, and I learned a lot, and I grew a lot. In all of my jobs, I have made tremendous amounts of mistakes, but also been successful. And I am just, again, forever indebted to any agency that would take me on in all of my immaturity and lack of knowledge, and deal with helping me learn and grow in life and professionally. So Alliance for Children, I was the center coordinator, and again, it was very administrative. I supervised the secretary, and I had the whole volunteer program. I was in charge of that here in Arlington, and I facilitated the groups for the partner agencies when they had staffings, and I was in control of the building. So that was really interesting because I was the one who had to get the yard mowed and the light bulbs changed and buy supplies, and that part was interesting too. And then there was a lot of community outreach with that also. I ended up helping facilitate child abuse prevention programs in the school districts while I was there as well. Okay. And then, while I was at Alliance for Children, one day I was answering the phone because it was just the secretary and I there, and she was out to lunch. And I answered the phone, and it was a friend of mine who said, "This is Ashley, and we have a position available, a new position available at Safe Haven, which is the domestic violence shelter. Would you be interested in applying for the position?" And I said, "Well, I wasn't really looking, but okay. Will take you up on that." And so I applied for this position, and I got it, and I went to Safe Haven of Tarrant County as the children's program coordinator over both shelters. That was short-lived, mainly because I was not really cut out, or I thought I wasn't cut out, to do crisis-oriented things. So I really think it's important to know what your strengths and limitations are. Now, you can't judge today without much experience whether you'd be good in a crisis-oriented setting. These are things that you learn along the professional path. And I realized that I just don't do well when people are needing to be in a hurry or need me to make a really quick judgment of things. And so I wasn't there long, but I did leave there, and then I started being an adjunct and had some contract work that I did with the AISD Prevention Pregnancy Program going into the schools and doing the Pathways to Success program. I was also a field instructor for Helping Restorability as a contract person. I went back to Big Brothers and Sisters. They had a position that could be online primarily, and I was like an intern case manager for them. At the same time, did assessments for Alliance for Children. So if you will notice, and many times our job is swayed by what happens in the country, but during that time, from about 2004, actually around 2008, if you look at history, the market had a big tumble, and we had a lot of problems in this country economically. And so it was vital. I had a young boy, and it was vital that I get out and do all the jobs I could possibly do to make things work and put things together. So we never give up. As social workers, we can be very resilient. And also, at that time, I started as an adjunct, and then came on full-time here at UTA in 2012. So I was doing a lot of things before I came on full-time, but I've been here full-time for 6 years, but starting out as an adjunct. So I've been here about 14 years total teaching at UTA, and it is absolutely one of my favorite things to do. Right now, I'm currently completing my LCSW hours at the Alliance for Children, and I finish in October of 18. As a side note, that is something that kind of wish I'd have done way back when, because there was a time period in my life where I didn't think I wanted to do clinical work. I didn't think I could do clinical work. I discounted my abilities in that area. And when I had my MSW early on, they had a time period where you could grandfather in, get your LCSW. And frankly, I didn't really understand if I needed that or what that was, and so I just sort of let the time pass and didn't do it, and now I'm doing it. So maybe maybe I'm more mature now and better able to handle it than I might have been back then. You never know. So I'm glad to be doing that, and I'll be finishing in October. I'm doing my hours at Alliance for Children right now, and I do Thursday night groups with 5 to 7-year-old victims of sexual abuse. And also, one of the side things that I've done is that after I got married in 1998, I had a son, and he is very philanthropic. And when I was at Safe Haven of Tarrant County during that short time period, he had a lemonade stand, and he decided he wanted to help others. And so he started that, and now he is 18 years old. And when he started the lemonade stand, he also started an organization, a nonprofit organization called Carson Cares. And it exists today, and he is in college now, but the organization still goes on because of his input, and the other youth board members decided they wanted to continue it for however long it will go. So we keep Carson Cares going, and we're excited about that this year. So in case you haven't noticed, I always have a lot of irons in the fire, and I think that's kind of characteristic of social workers. We like to stay busy, and so that's part of it. The population that I like to work with is children and families, and really, what does that mean to me? It means that I'm an advocate all the time, and I think we realize that sometimes we want to compartmentalize the word advocate and not realize that that is what we do as social workers all the time, that we never stop advocating for the clients that we want to serve. We advocate for them in lots of different ways, by making referrals, and some people go to the legislature, and some people just try to have fundraisers, or whatever way that you advocate for your clients. It's something that never stops. I'm also an educator. When I have clients that may not know certain information that would be helpful to them, I plant seeds of not only hope, but I plant seeds that will help them further their success in whatever agency I'm working at. Also, I'm a support to clients. We never stop supporting clients. We never stop providing that strengths-based approach to, we can do this, we can get through this, let's put our heads together, let's get our resources together so that that person can be successful. We're counselors. We're always counselors. Somebody wants to always put a name on it. Well, are you a counselor? Well, social workers are always counselors. We're always counseling people on we don't give advice. Okay, so sometimes people think that we are advice givers, and that's not what we are. If you've had a reputation in your group about, well, I'm the best one to give advice to everyone here, well, that's great, but in social work, we don't give advice. We guide people through the path of success by providing education and support, and that's what counseling exists of. I'll give you, the information, but ultimately the client has to make the decision. And I'm also a therapist now, which is a clinical position. That is, I do cognitive behavioral therapy, primarily trauma-focused therapy at Alliance for Children, with clients who have certain needs. And therapists typically look for certain models that they follow, certain professional standards and models for treatment. And cognitive behavioral therapy is a model, and then trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy is an addition to that model that focuses primarily on victims of trauma. And then I've been a case manager, and a case manager is someone who helps people seek out resources. You have to sort of be knowledgeable of a lot of things in your community or the community where the clients are being served. And I find myself a jack of all trades because I have changed diapers on site. I have run the vacuum. My family has mowed the yard. I have made phone calls. I've done letters. I have, you name it. Social workers are a jack of all trades. So you have to realize it's not a compartmentalized position. You've got to be willing to do a lot of different tasks on the job. My favorite job ever, of course, is UTA teaching, because that's where I've sort of landed, and then therapy with young people. And for the future, I hope to be able to continue that. I hope to be able to learn more about therapy. I'm particularly interested in art therapy as it relates to trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. So that's kind of where my path is attempting to lead to, but you never know what's going to come your way. And then also I am a mother. That has been my absolute favorite job of all time. And I do things still with the youth board of Carson Cares. Okay, here's some of the tips that I have for you. My experience has been that the career finds you. Do not pigeonhole yourself into one area or another, but realize that success will find you as well. As you exhibit certain strengths and limitations, your job will sort of flow with that. So if your strength is children and families, or working with the older people, or whatever it is, the career is going to seek you out, so to speak, because you'll become a professional in that, and people will start to recognize you as a professional in that. Be open to new ideas and uncharted territories. Do not narrow your scope right away. Do not say, I have to be a therapist, or I have to be that, because that's just may not happen for you in that way that you expect. Expect the unexpected. And then be ready to set some boundaries with the people around you, the people that require a lot of your time, the people that you serve, the people you work for. When we are givers by nature, people are going to try to take a little bit of advantage of that. So I would just say, keep your boundaries set and understand what those are. One thing I don't have here on the list, too, is to understand the Code of Ethics, the NASW Code of Ethics, because that will help you greatly in life in setting boundaries, recognizing what the parameters are for social work. Learn your limitations, understand what you're better at and maybe not so great at. If you're not so great at something that is required by a social worker, then make a commitment to improve in that area. Okay. Follow your social work ethics. Look for mentors. Follow those people who seem to know what they're doing and be doing it right. There are many people who have been in social work for a very long time, and probably the area that you want to be in. So find your mentors. Talk to professors while you're here. Talk to other people doing social work while you're here. Make it for you. Create a situation where you can be proud of, and you do have a good understanding of the position that you're in. And remember, you're building a career. It's not going to happen overnight. This is not something that you just check off the list. You are building a career for yourself. And as you can see, it takes a long time, and I'm still not finished. So even after almost 30 years, I've still got learning to do, and I'm keeping my mind open to new things. And practice self-care. That is one of the most important things. That goes with boundaries and understanding yourself. Part of self-care is taking this class. So we have had a lot of opportunities in this class to complete modules and areas of reflection that are focused on you, and what does it mean to be you and social work, and what does it mean for you to care for others while at the same time caring for yourself, because it can be a somewhat draining job. That is all I have, and I'm going to be, like I said before, I'm going to be looking at your questions. So if now you would go to the discussion area that is set up in Module 13, and you're going to post some questions for me, and then I'll answer in writing, and I'll have those posted next week. And I know that timing seems kind of odd, but that's how we're going to try it. And hopefully you will have lots of questions, and I can answer them. And then I'm going to post those answers, questions and answers, for everyone to see. So don't be shy about your questions. Do keep it, professional in your statements, but I look forward to answering those. And I hope you've enjoyed this.